welcome to our monthly get-together. This is a special get-together because we're going to be previewing the 3 mayoral candidates in this year's city election, Patrick. Big time.
I thought you were going to say it's special because we're actually taping this during the fall festival, and an old nut clubber like you, it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, that's true. It's my only night off from being on Franklin Street.
Well, we're glad to have you here, but we do have a big show today. Right now, out in the hallway. Nervous, I'm sure, but they can rest assured there'll be no spin here on Shively Shoulders. No hardball, no delicate, just the facts.
Well, and straightforward questions. This is an interesting election for several reasons. First of all, I don't think there's any between the Republican and the Democrat candidate. It's up for grabs. And this independent candidate is coming on strong. I don't know where he's getting his money. I was watching Monday Night Football. Clear out the blue, there's an ad. Amazing.
Well, it's been a long time. Lloyd Winnicke's been in there, 12 years? We've had an incumbent. We haven't had an open race for a lot of people. You know, if you first started voting, you've waited 12 years to vote in one where there was actually a contest. But we should banter a bit.
Yes.
We live in historic times, and all one has to do is read the canon of literature, the Bible, Greek mythology, to know that if you make a deal with the devil, it comes back to bite you in the tail. Kevin McCarthy, you were never a leader. You were always a compromiser, and guess what? You're now unemployed.
Pat, I couldn't have said it worse. Kevin McCarthy tried, with the slim margin he had, get something done for this country. Unlike people from your party, that when the vote comes up, hits the fire alarm, that person should be suspended from Congress and never be allowed to run again. But I digress. It's a mess. It's totally a mess. We got till November 17th to complete the budget.
Well, there's complete chaos because the Republican Party, starting way back with the, what was it called? The Tea Party, through Sarah Palin, through this iteration, and now they've begun to eat their own, and it's total chaos there, and we'll have to see. On a statewide, however, aren't you happy? Go ahead.
It's a matter of math.
Math, yes.
The Republicans should have realized there was not a red tide in the last election, slim majority, and should have resigned themselves to the reality of the situation and tried to work with the other side. It's their fault for not trying to bridge that gap and working together. And yes, in part, the extremists were a problem too.
They clearly
Go ahead.
On a statewide basis, I'm quite happy to see that our Attorney General jerk-in-chief has disciplinary charges against him. It seems that he's answering. Todd Rokita is answering for some perhaps alleged misconduct in office.
These are the same type of charges that were filed against Marion County prosecutor, last name is Newman.
I don't remember that.
He stood out in the front steps of the courthouse and started talking about the particulars of a case and charges against the would-be defendant, when in fact the charges hadn't been filed yet, and really was totally inappropriate, violative of the canons, and he was disciplined accordingly for it.
And before we break and get to the meat of this show, let us say congratulations for a good hire for the Evansville Chamber, or whatever it's called now. It appears that our mayor has found a job, and I believe he will continue to serve us well in the economic development role.
You see, like he's found a job, like he's going to have a hard time getting one. I think he was very highly sought after.
When we come back, we will begin based on a blind draw, the order that they chose, or they were lucky enough to draw, our first, Stephanie Terry, the Democratic candidate for mayor of Evansville. We are happy to have with us right now, by the luck of the draw, our first candidate for the job, Stephanie Terry, the Democratic candidate for mayor of Evansville. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we've had a lot of years of Shively Shoulders, and these things kind of sometimes follow a pattern. And one thing we like to do for our viewers is for you to tell them who you are, your background, and we'll get to why you want this job, but tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm an Evansville native. The only time I've been away from the city is really to go to college, where I went to Kentucky State University. I'm a graduate of Bosse High School. I returned back to Evansville and received my master's in health service administration. Thought for a very long time I was going to pursue being a pediatrician, but as time went on, learned that my bedside manner was not, what it needed to be. And so I've moved into nonprofit work, where I've worked with youth and education for over 20 years for various youth serving organizations in our community. For the last 12, almost 13, I've been at the Children's Museum as their executive director and had an opportunity really to grow that organization and really position it in a way to continue to grow it and grow with our downtown. And then I've also been elected and served this community on our Vandenberg County Council for the last 12 years. My husband and I have raised 3 children here, and our youngest is a senior in high school, and so we're preparing for our next chapter here.
Next empty nest. Yeah.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Oh, very productive member of the county council, but now you decide to venture off to the executive branch of government. Tell us why.
I've always thought that I was called to do something more, and while I didn't realize it'd be this soon, let me be honest. As many times I've walked past there's a hall, the wall of mayors on the 3rd floor of the Civic Center, and I've said to myself, will this ever change? I never believed that I could be that change. And so I thought about being mayor? Yes. Have I thought about being something even higher than that? Absolutely. But really just didn't take the time and just was content with being where I was. But it wasn't until, last year when the mayor made his announcement, and I began to get a lot of calls and had a lot of conversations, but I didn't want that decision to be something that somebody else made for me. Right. And so it really took me a long time to get to a yes, but it was not until earlier this year in January that it hit me that this is your time. You have dedicated your life to service in this community. You want to continue to see this city progress. You have the qualifications, and you can do this. And so I stepped out there on faith, and here I am, and ready to really take my leadership to another level in our community.
Lloyd Winnecke's been our mayor for 12 years. I've been right here on this show, and I think Les and I, we never agree on anything, but we sort of agreed that he's done a pretty good job. So tell me, if you get the job and you're sworn in on January 1, what you believe the state of the city is and what you're going to do to make it better.
Yeah. I think there has been some tremendous progress, over the last 12 years and even before then, especially as it relates to downtown and the whole idea and the concept of regionalism and how we're elected officials are working together to grow our entire region and take it forward. So I think there's some opportunities and things to continue to build upon from the work that's been started as relates to, again, downtown development. We know the Ohio River and the riverfront. There's opportunity there. But in addition to that, there's opportunity for growth in other neighborhoods throughout the community. And that's really, for me, where I want to put my attention is how we build out other neighborhoods throughout our community, whether that's addressing our parks and how we develop our roads and sidewalks throughout the community, as well as just being, a place that reduces crime as well. And so beautifying our communities, whether that's, some essential lighting, but again, being a resource to continue the work that's been started.
So reducing crime, one of the most important decisions you'll make as mayor, if you're elected, is police chief.
Yeah.
What process will you go through in making that decision?
Yeah. Much like I will do for all of my other department heads, there will be a full, vetting process. There will be an opportunity for individuals to express their interest, and we'll have conversations, not with just me, but there might be another panel that would also engage with these individuals, and we would really chart out what we're looking for in terms of assets, in terms of they align with the vision for our vision moving forward as an administration. And that will be kind of the initial process for identifying those individuals for leadership.
Anybody in the back of your mind? You don't have to give me names.
I'm taking myself out of the room.
I have some in the back. Okay. Yeah, I do.
You thought about it?
I have a little bit, and there's some key positions. We know that their city is going to lose a lot. A lot of people are retiring right now, and so I have have to be thinking about the future leadership. But I'm also interested in hearing from the current administration too about what has worked effectively. There's some great leaders already in the administration, and I hope some of them stay for the next.
The county council is primarily a fiscal body.
Yes.
Dealing with budgets and expenditures for government. Your work in nonprofit is the Children's Museum, which is a little bit different gig. What in your background prepares you to be mayor on day one? Well,
I think you just said it. More than anything is, again, having a seat at the table on our county council, and working with, in a bipartisan and professional manner, those across the aisle, to support infrastructure, to support law enforcement. I've had that opportunity to do that for a decade. And I think in addition to that, my work at the Children's Museum, I think for many nonprofits, we offer service on, a lot of time with the minimal dollars. And so being able to, have the most efficient quality of service that we're offered to the community, with, constraints on dollars and resources. And so I think bringing that experience also from a fundraising and grant standpoint, having that background, how, will help me better position and hopefully garner more state and federal resources to the community as an advocate and champion for our community and the work that we're doing.
Let me go on a more specific issue. Mm-hmm. Indiana Department of Transportation, one of the most frustrating agencies in the state, are planning a $50 million redoing of Lloyd Expressway, especially west part of Lloyd Expressway. And although they had some public hearings, they won't answer any questions. What role do you think you as mayor should play in directing those decisions?
Well, I think, number one, I think it's important that, number one, we cast vision on, in terms of creating a master plan. And I think part of that, engaging with state officials on what are their plans for our area, identifying those.
My point is, how do you think Mayor Winnick really took some great steps to counter some of the things NDOT wanted to do on the eastern end of Lloyd Express? He said, no, you're not going to do that. It's going to be, are you willing to be aggressive and tell NDOT, hey, it's not what a bunch of bureaucrats are going to decide. We're going to decide what runs through this community.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to us, knowing what we want for our community and that we have a plan and understand where there's opportunities for growth, where we might want to slow down. Absolutely. I think there's that open dialogue has to happen to ensure that we're going to grow at the right pace and when it's the right time.
What's the biggest single threat facing Evansville right now?
Well, I think number one, we need to do a better job investing in our quality of place. And I think from a business standpoint, we're not not able to do development smoothly and quickly as we really need to. From housing, for business growth and expansion, we've got to figure out what's working within our processes, what needs to be streamlined, cut out. I think some of the setback requirements can be addressed. But what I want to do is pull together a group of contractors and developers and trades and our administration to really look at, from a development standpoint, what needs to change. Is it time for us to mirror a little bit more what the county has done, again, to streamline the process so we can move some dirt and begin to do some development, because one, we need that revenue when it's all said and done from property taxes and even income tax. And so it's important that we address that pretty immediately.
Great point about maybe mirroring what the county has done on the permitting process. But going back to Mayor McDonald II, Florida, all past administration had tried to eliminate the bureaucratic mess so it's more user-friendly for developers. Why do you think you'll succeed?
Well, I like to say I'm determined. I am, and that's actually one of my personal email address. And I'm going to be committed and to ensure that we get it done. And I think it's also about relationships and continue to be sure that we we can have that open dialogue with the right people, bring all stakeholders together with one common goal. And we want our community to continue to grow and prosper. We've got to make the change.
You know what your strengths are. What will be the biggest weakness? Les and I are the only two people I know that have no faults, but pretty much everybody else does. I have to say that because he's a judge. But when you think about swearing in and going to that office, all of us have something we got to work on. What do you think will be your biggest challenge if you're elected?
Biggest challenge? Wow. I think ensuring, it goes back to, I think a little where you were going with, is being sure that people know that I have a strong voice. I think along in the decision-making process, that was something that came up quite frequently. People thought, oh, she's too quiet, she's too nice. But I also know how to get the job done, and how to maintain relationships. And so I think that's one thing that I will have to overcome. And then being sure that, again, I'm, as a woman of color and a minority, that I've got to be able to cast my net and be sure that I'm including multiple voices as part of the forward progress of our community.
By the way, you said quiet. You've been so kind to the judges in terms of your fiscal decision. We thank you for all that. But seriously, you're in a very historic position.
Absolutely.
If you become mayor, you'll be not the first woman, the first African American woman to hold that position. And you need to unite a lot of different groups, but have a strong voice. How do you perform that balancing act?
Well, they could just do it.
Just do it?
You just do it.
Like the Nike commercial.
And I mean, I'll be honest, this journey really for the last, 8-9 months, has stretched me in ways I never imagined. And I've watched for years, women of color, women stand up in leadership roles and I'm admired. And those are people that I aspire to be like. And so I'm going to give my best. And that's what I've always done in service, because I take this job seriously. The work that I'm doing now and as mayor really would be no different. And so I'm going to be sure I circle myself with the right individuals to partner with me to do the work that's needed for our city.
Describe for us, I think it's a pleasant thing right now, at least it's my perception, that this campaign, you have two opponents, that this campaign for the most part has been waged on an issue campaign, that it has not been personal. What's your feeling about the way the campaign has been? You're now out there working the Fall Festival.
Yeah.
What do you feel about politics in our city?
Yeah. I mean, one, I would agree that to this point, it has been very positive, and we focused on issues, and I hope that it stays that way. At least my team, they know that is my vision, that we will not dabble in nasty politics. That's not who I am as a person, and that's not how I will lead as mayor. And so I think it's important that, just as I've done on council, that I work in a professional and bipartisan manner to address the needs of our residents, of our community, and focus on that and nothing else.
We have a Democratic majority on the city council. Are you able to work with everybody there?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, absolutely.
All right. When this show airs, there'll be less than 30 days before the election.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to have you divulge any secrets, but what is the less than 30-day game plan for your campaign?
Yeah, less than 30-day game plan is really just connect with as many people as I possibly can at the doors, on the phone, and, as well as, get out the vote efforts. I mean, this Sunday, I'm actually going to have a gospel celebration. So I'm bringing out the faith community,
he plays guitar. I could be there.
Amazing grace. I could help this. Go ahead.
Let's do it. But so I'm going to be creative. We're going to have a block party as well. Again, we need to energize people and make sure they know how important this election is and how their voice needs to be heard on November 7th or before.
We got less than a minute, and we do this every time we have candidates. It is opportunity to make your pitch why the people of Evansville should vote for you.
Yeah. Well, I think more than anything, when you vote for me, you're getting an experienced, you're getting a compassionate, authentic, hardworking servant leader that has invested in this community for a very long time. And I'm just ready to take my leadership skills and abilities to the next level to continue to move our city forward.
We thank you so much first of all, we're both hometown guys. We love this city. I admire and envy anyone who's willing to step up, win, lose, or draw. You've run a great campaign. We thank you for being on Shively Shoulders. And both of us wish you good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
When we come back,
we'll have, who's our next candidate? Well, you'll be as surprised as we will. Welcome back. Our next guest is the candidate for mayor from the Libertarian Party, Michael Daugherty. Michael,
hello.
Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Michael, welcome to Shively Shoulders, and congratulations on stepping up. and asking the city to vote for you. The tradition here is we allow you, as the start, to tell everybody who you are, a little bit about your background, and what brought you from being born to this seat.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised here in Evansville. I'm a graduate of North High School. I left Evansville to attend Purdue University, where I graduated with my degree in electrical engineering. I worked as...
You were here with 2 IU grads, but we're
Okay.
not going to touch that Purdue thing.
That's
okay.
I'll give you a little tip on IU here in a minute. But I worked for a company for 7 years as vice president and taught at Ivy Tech as an adjunct instructor for 2 years. Then I went back to Purdue and received my MBA. If I would have waited 6 months, I would be a dual graduate with a Juris Doctorate and an MBA from IU. They did not open that program until 6 months after I started my MBA at Purdue. So
Well,
I could be a dual degree. And then I started my own IT consulting company. I ran that successfully for 14 years as CEO. And we supported businesses all across the country. We had customers actually working in South America that we supported all technical operations for. And had some family health issues. Some family members get cancer and felt it was time to move back home and be close to family. My mother was the one that really got cancer, and so I moved back down here and noticed that this isn't the city that I grew up in. When I was here, when I was in high school, when I was in middle school, we could go anywhere in the city. You could do anything you want. The roads weren't much better back then, but the public safety was much better. And so I sold my technology company to a company out of Indianapolis, and I bought my mother a horse farm. She loved horses, and growing up, she had horses, and she got rid of horses once she had my sister. And so I made sure that I kind of forced her to retire because she was still working at 70 years old. She could work circles around me until she got cancer. And I was happy to do that for her, and she still today feeds the horses twice a day, absolutely loving life, and I couldn't be happier. But once I seen how our city has gone downhill, I could stand and complain, but unless I stand up and want to put my hat in the ring and actually do something about it.
Let me stop you right
Yes.
there. You see the city's gone downhill.
Mm-hmm.
How's it, give me specifics, how has it gone downhill?
Crime rate, violent crime rates went up. Evansville is ranked 34th in the nation according to a WRTV source that they posted in the Indianapolis News. The roads are worse than what they were when I was growing up. I grew up going to Garvin's Park. The parks we have here are horrendous. I've done many videos on my campaign trail and going over through neighborhood parks, and you can see the holes in the roofs of the shelters, doors rusted completely through that says high voltage dangerous. The political favors that are happening behind closed doors, the fiscal irresponsibility that's happened with Evansville now close to $1 billion in bond debt, it has gone downhill.
See, political favors.
Yes.
Again, can you be a little more specific?
So as far as specifics, I would say go look at the financial campaigns of my two opponents, look at the financial campaigns to the Winnicke administration, and see where the donations are coming from. Why are all of these corporations, PACs, and lobbyists putting so much money behind candidates? Why is there so much money coming from out of state being spent and donated from out of state for my two opponents?
Michael, let me ask you this. I think that it is interesting. You're a third-party candidate,
Yes,
an
sir.
independent candidate. Did you consider the party system, or do you believe that the traditional Republican-Democrat thing, locally, nationally, statewide, whatever, is broken? I mean, why third party, and is there a structure that supports you? Is there an organized libertarian party?
I absolutely believe, I've met with Mayor Tom Watson from Owensboro, we should have a nonpartisan effort here at the local level. It's working great in Owensboro and many municipalities across Kentucky.
Meaning that our mayor's race would be nonpartisan?
100%,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
City council would be nonpartisan, mayors, the county commissioners would all be nonpartisan. You'd
Like
have
judges?
Yes, 100%. And you would have the best candidates run on those platforms, and you would choose them based on their values, what they've done, not their political affiliation. It's happened well across in Kentucky. It's doing well, and Tom says it really, really helps when it comes to working together to move their city forward.
We all know that politics, running for a major office, is not cheap. The party structure, and you've alluded to both of your opponents' campaign contribution lists. I assume, are you taking contributions?
Yes, I'm taking contributions. I've received contributions from individuals, but about 95 to 97% is self-funded.
And I've seen you're up on television. I've seen you've got TV ads, but a lot of that's from your own pocket.
Yes.
So there's no structured third party with precinct workers and things that you can count on like the other two can.
Correct.
Okay.
We have, the Libertarian Party is very small here in Vanderburgh County.
And before I leave this, and Judge, I know it's your turn, but
Go ahead.
Libertarian, at least on a national basis, sort of has an agenda. Tax relief, all of the kind of things. Do you subscribe to the Libertarian Party's values nationally?
Several of the ideas that I agree with. I'm a small government person, which matches our national party. But just like you have extremes in the Republican and Democrat Party, you have extremes in the Libertarian Party. So you have extremely far right, extremely far left, and moderates, and I consider myself a moderate in the middle.
Okay.
You talked about meeting with the mayor of Owensboro and the fact that many municipalities in Kentucky, the mayor's a nonpartisan position. If you're elected mayor, you'll be the mayor in a partisan environment.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to be able to reach out to Democrats and Republicans and build some sort of governing coalition?
So that's an advantage that I have being third party, is I get to choose the best people for the job no matter their party affiliation. If the Republican nominee gets in, you're going to see the appointed positions be heavily Republican. If a Democrat gets in, you're going to see those appointed positions heavily Democrat. I have the advantage of choosing the best candidate no matter their party affiliation. And that's going to bring city council together and allow me to work with both sides, especially being a moderate, plays right into my beliefs and how we move Evansville forward.
What do you think are the biggest, on day one, when you're sworn in, the biggest issues facing the city that you're going to look at in the first 6 months in office?
Day one, I will request a full forensic audit from the State Board of Accounts to make sure that our financials are in order. There are so many interfund transfers that happen in city council of the meetings that I've been there. That will be a day one request. Prior to day one, I will want to create a blue ribbon commission of hardworking citizens to ensure that all the appointed positions have the best people in the position, no matter their party affiliation. And on my website, I have a 7, 30, 60, and 90-day plan on what I will do day one, 7 days, 30 days, and working to move Evansville forward. So it'll be time to roll up your sleeves and get started day one. We will hit the ground running.
And for our viewers, your website is?
peopleoverpolitics.vote, V-O-T-E.
All right.
You recently made efforts to obtain private emails of the mayor. Is that correct?
No, public emails.
Public emails of the mayor.
Yes.
Going back how long?
I don't remember the exact date that was put in there, but that request has been changed, and I was looking at emails from 2021 forward.
And what was the purpose behind that?
The purpose behind that is to find out these backdoor deals that are happening and private negotiations that are not being transparent to the citizens. The deals between the city of Evansville and the naming of the streets, I found that information out before. The contracts with Venue Works and the Ford Center, and finding a lot of this out through my public records requests that the city of Evansville, in the agreement, which I've published on my website, is paying the franchise fees to the SPHL for our hockey team. We're paying for all of the maintenance that's happening in the Ford Center. We're paying Teamsters to go in and change it from ice to basketball courts and back. And the negotiations that are happening behind closed doors and not in front of city council in a transparent nature.
You're saying all those arrangements were done under the dark of night and at no public meetings at all?
They are not anywhere to be found. That's why I filed public requests.
Have you asked for minutes of the meetings, the Board of Public Works and things of that nature?
That's in part of some of the requests that I've made.
You mentioned you came back, you looked around, and you decided to run based on, and I heard crime and I heard roads. Give us your ideas, tell the voters what you're going to do about the crime situation and what you're going to do about the roads.
First and foremost, public safety. We have to have a fully staffed police force. The last time I received numbers from the FOP, we had 22 open positions for our police force. I was told by FOP, we do not have a homicide division with all of the violent crimes and homicides that happen in Evansville. We need to fully staff our police force so that we can be proactive and see the drug trafficking that's happening here locally. We need to work with the sheriff's office, with state police, make sure that public safety is at the forefront. The parks, the roads, one of the things that I want to do for the roads is set up an online system to where people can report road issues, potholes, damages to the road, and they can track that it's actually getting done, that it's been reported, because citizens have the ability to file a tort against the public government if a pothole's been reported and they don't take care of it in a certain amount of time and it damages their vehicle. That's something that the citizens aren't aware of. I would immediately put that into place to where citizens can see what's happening. Why are certain road projects being funneled and done ahead of time when you have roads that are completely falling apart, and we're going to go and put a brand new asphalt topping for the West Franklin Street for the Fall Festival when it really wasn't in that bad a shape. The parks.
Many of the roads in this community, in this city, are under the jurisdiction of the state.
Mm-hmm.
And NDOT has just announced a major renovation project for the Lloyd Expressway. Most of it, I think, to be west section of the Lloyd Expressway. NDOT has will develop their plans. What steps would you take as mayor to make sure that we're not driven by some bureaucrats in Indy and that those improvements reflect what Evansville needs?
That's where the mayor has to work with organizations like Sasaki on our riverfront. The state is being transparent and has public meetings for the Lloyd Expressway. They had one, I believe, last week. So that's the transparency that needs to happen with state officials, working hand in hand with our locally elected officials here in Vanderburgh County.
Do you believe the mayor's office has any role to play? You said you went to North High School.
Yes.
In public education, or in the education that our citizens receive here in Vanderburgh County.
Absolutely. The mayor has to work hand in hand with EVSC and other school corporations to make sure that we're moving Evansville forward. The first thing people look for when they're looking at quality of place and moving to Evansville is what school system is the best? What neighborhood should I look at for the best schools? It could be sports driven, it could be academically driven, but absolutely the mayor needs to work hand in hand with EVSC, with Signature School, attend the board meetings, and find ways to work together to make Evansville better and our education better.
When they start flashing fingers at us, that means we're coming down. What we always have allowed every guest here in political contests to do is to look into our camera and tell the viewers, make your campaign speech. Right now, this is the street corner. Tell them why they ought to vote for Michael Daugherty.
Okay. My name is Michael Daugherty. I'm not a politician. I've never been in politics. And that's why my campaign slogan is people over politics, because I will be transparent and I will bring back the fact that the mayor works for you, the citizens, not the other way around. That's been forgotten a lot. And I will be a transparent mayor that puts people in positions of appointed boards and commissions that are citizens, not just country club buddies that come in that live out of the county and Warwick County and in the county that aren't in the city. And I will make sure that we work hard for you, the citizens of Evansville. And I'm not one that asks for your vote. I ask you to go to my website, look at my platform, look at what I stand for, and actually look at the campaign finances of all candidates and see where the money's going and where the money's coming from. And I will be a good steward of the public tax dollars.
Michael, speaking for two guys who grew up here and love this city, we always admire anyone who's willing to step up and put their name on the line. We wish you all the good luck in this race.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
When we come back, Natalie Rascher, the Republican candidate for mayor, will be our third and final guest on this edition of Shively Shoulders. By the luck of the draw, our third candidate, and it might be lucky if you got to hear the first two, but in any event, last but not least, the Republican candidate for mayor of City of Evansville, Natalie Rascher. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you for having me.
We are glad to have you here with us. We've allowed the other two candidates, and we will allow you to tell our viewers who you are, tell us about your background and what brought you from birth to this chair.
Sure. Well, I'm born and raised here in Evansville, so a proud native. Went to Central High School. After that, went on to Purdue University, where I received my undergraduate degree.
That's another.
I know.
And you also, we've had North, Central, and Bosse.
I think his interview's done.
I love it.
It's a great university.
It is. It's a wonderful university. I received my bachelor's there. My degrees were both in psychology and then law and society with minors in political science and forensic science and dance. After that, though, I went on to Indiana University.
I knew there was
and totally redeemed myself, right?
Rainbow just occurred.
There, yeah. So went on to IU, though, received my master's of science there in applied health science, and came back to Evansville because I knew that this was the community that I wanted to start my career in, and I wanted to grow and flourish. And of course, I've got a family and a husband here now, and it's been a really, really good trip so far.
So why, given all your degrees and accomplishments, why do you want to run for mayor?
Sure. Well, whenever you look at my experience and my background, I come from the private sector, and really it's been a focus on administration and looking at different businesses and how I can help them achieve their goals, not just financially, but also within their human capital. So how do we get the people that we work with to do their best so that they're serving their clients in the best way possible? If you take those same skills and you apply it to city government, what is it that I can do to help the individuals that work for the city so that they have all of the tools and resources that they need to provide for our community? So again, I think those transferable skills are there, and it just seems to be a good fit.
If you're elected, sworn in, day one, what are the issues facing the city of Evansville?
Sure. Public safety has been a top priority of mine since the start of this campaign. So I will have a strong focus in that area, but also making sure that we look at our economic growth and development opportunities here in the city. Whenever we talk about keeping our talent here, we have to make sure that there's good jobs for them and that we can continue to grow as a community.
You mentioned public safety. You obviously have some advocates out there. You've been endorsed by both the FOP and the fire.
Yes, that's correct.
That'd be public safety.
Sure.
And along those lines, the two of the most important positions that you as mayor would have to fill are police chief and fire chief.
That's correct.
And tell us how you would go about that process.
Sure. Well, having that administrative and HR background, what I would like to do is have, essentially an open interview process where individuals that are working with, either the police or within the fire department have an opportunity to raise their hand, submit their application, their resume, and then I will have a team of individuals around me that will help me through that interview process. But then ultimately, I'll be making that decision, hopefully, here soon.
The fact that you have not held elective office, is that a benefit or a negative on your resume for this office?
Sure, I would consider it a benefit. A lot of times whenever individuals have been in elected seats before, there's favors that come with that territory, and I think having that knowledge and experience from private industry and understanding the expectations in what I call the real world is very important, because sometimes that gets lost in government. And we have to remember, as good stewards of those tax dollars, that we should be looking at how we're using our money and how it's providing for our citizens.
Public safety, public works is also a big part of the duties and responsibilities of the mayor. And the Indiana Department of Transportation is planning a major overhaul of the Lloyd Expressway. They've been down here having public hearings, and they're developing a plan. What steps will you take to make sure that Indianapolis isn't telling us how that road's to be built, but we're going to tell Indianapolis how that road should be.
Sure. Well, a lot of that comes back to partnership and good communication. We need to make sure that whoever is sitting in that mayor's seat has those relationships with individuals that are coming up with those decisions and also wanting to partner with us so that we can say, whenever we're looking at Van Avenue and the Lloyd Expressway, what that traffic pattern looks like, what those high times are, and we can really, be, again, good stewards of the dollars that are being spent here in our community.
Les and I both told His Honor the Mayor as he sat right in that chair that we thought he'd done a great job for 12 years. I know he has embraced your campaign with both arms. But you need to tell us, nobody's perfect except Les and me, what you would do differently running the city than His Honor Mayor Winnecke.
Sure. Well, something that I think that would be different and unique that I bring to the table is a little bit of that next generation, leadership style, and really leveraging technology is going to be important. One thing that I see, everywhere else out in our community except for on the government side is the use and really that, again, leveraging of technology. I would love to have QR codes on road closure signs so that whenever you come up to one, you can scan it. It links back.
Scan with your phone while you're running the guy in front of you.
No. If the road's closed, you're stopping, and then you could scan it, or if you're walking by, scan it, and make sure that then we're giving that access to information to our residents. Same thing with Parks and Recreation. If you're at a park and there's a QR code that's accessible,
right,
you can report if a swing set's broken or if there's trash that needs to be picked up, whatever it may be. But the individuals that we're serving are using this technology on a day-to-day basis in every other aspect of their life. So if we are going to meet our residents where they're at, we need to start using that technology as well.
Rightly or wrongly, the mayor's criticized, well, he was in the primary that you were involved in, about crime. Crime is a problem here in Evansville. If you agree with that or not, what are you going to do about it?
Sure. Well, definitely, as I mentioned, public safety is a top priority for me. We have seen an increase in crime rates over the last few years here in Evansville, and it's not from a lack of trying. We look nationally at the statistics of crime. They have tended to increase, specifically here within Evansville, within that 17-year-old to 24-year-old age range. So what kind of programs do we have in place currently that can help reduce crime? Looking at those, making sure that we have the tools and resources needed. And I'm sure I sound like a broken record whenever I say the technology as well. We have these wonderful flop cameras that we're starting to use throughout our community so that we can be more aware of some of the individuals that are committing crime, and we've been successful in stopping some as well.
Mayor Winnecke, I think success in big part was based upon his ability to reach across the aisle. He never had, his party never controlled city council. Sure. Yet all of his major programs and initiatives, he was able to get council support. Mm-hmm. Right now that council is still tilted towards the Democrat Party. It may change this, but let's assume it doesn't change. What are you going to do to reach out to the other side to develop that kind of team approach that puts the partisan labels aside and works for the community?
Yeah, well, and that's one thing that I think Evansville is unique in that we are a city that is built on relationships, and relationships matter. And I have great relationships already with a lot of the sitting council members, both Democrat and Republicans. And that is because we've worked in nonprofit spaces together, or we've had an interesting development within the school corporation. And I see someone that shows up and that's on council, and we're working together on all of these different projects throughout the course of time. It's never about just being Republican or being a Democrat. It's about individuals coming together in our city to do the best that we can and provide for everyone that lives here.
You mentioned our schools. What is the mayor's role, if any, as it relates to education in our community?
Sure. Well, I would say technically none, right? Because we've got a school board. However...
And they've got a fantastic lawyer. Oh, no, wait, go ahead.
Is he still around?
I don't know. So truthfully, though, the mayor does have a bit of a role there, and I would say responsibility to make sure that they're an advocate for our school systems, making sure that we're providing where we can. Just this morning, I walked to Highland Elementary School, a National Walk to School Day with the kids, and it's there being an advocate, making sure that we've got good programs, not just within the school system, but then after school hours as well, that are accessible for all families. And that's something that I think the nonprofit and the government world and private sector has really kind of circled around in recent years.
Well, and in this primary campaign, your opponent indicated that we had a terrible school system here. What's your feelings about the EVSC?
I'm very proud of the EVSC. As I said, a Central High School graduate, I think that we've got top-notch educators that are out there. I believe 4 of our high schools here were just, I believe it was ranked within the top 100 schools. I think it was something like that. Sorry, Dr. Smith, if that's incorrect. But and I know Bosse High School just also received another award. And we have Signature School as well, which is, a charter school, but still a public school. So we have, phenomenal educators here in this community. We have good school systems. We need to make sure that we have wraparound services, though, for those students and those parents that are needing those services.
Good point.
People expect the mayor to do a lot of things. One of them is to create jobs and be very much invested in economic development. Now, you're going to have a friend over there at the chamber. It's not called that anymore. I don't know.
E-Rep.
Whatever. Talk to me, talk to us, talk to them, most importantly, about what you're going to do about economic development.
Sure. Well, I think we have to make sure that Evansville is business friendly. So whenever we see a lot of red tape in government, it tends to deter people from wanting to do business either within the county or within the city. So if my office can help remove some of those barriers and make it more user friendly, so to speak, I think that's the first step. But it's also making sure whenever we are courting businesses to come into town, that they're businesses that are going to be paying high wages to those employees that are working there. Unemployment rate here in Evansville is 3.5% currently, which is great. However, we have multiple individuals that are working, 2, 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. And so if we have those good paying jobs here, I believe we'll have more economic growth and success.
You talked about cutting the red tape. I've been representing clients for 30 years before I took the bench, trying to get government to cut the red tape to allow real estate development and projects to go forward.
Sure.
It's been frustrating. Mayor McDonald, Mayor Weinzappel, even Mayor Winnicky was still trying to do that. And the county, to the county commissioner's credit, they've taken the first step for county projects. Why do you think you can have different results than your predecessor?
Sure. Well, I think it's an idea of continuous improvement. It's not about solving the problem. And a lot of people get into these positions and they say, well, I'm going to solve all of these problems. It's not that they're problems in the first place, it's opportunities. And so we need to just look at it from a different lens. How can we say, if it's a developer that wants to come into town and they want to build a building, okay, well, what's that process look like? Let's look at area plan. Let's look at BZA. Let's look at all of these other boards that we use as part of our government system and figure out how they can provide all of the information up front in a concise and meaningful way so that there's not questions or confusions down the road. And then I would like the answer from those boards then to be, yes, how can we help you get to where you need to be, not no, we have an ordinance against that, or no, it needs to be done this way, and then you're told.
Lose the no word, right?
Right? It doesn't work in my house, and it's not going to work in my seat if I'm mayor.
Natalie, a great tradition on Shively Shoulders when they give us the bunny ears is in the last minute or so that we have, you get to look right into that camera and tell people why they ought to vote for Natalie Rascher for mayor of Evansville.
Sure. Well, I would say that I would do my due diligence if I were you, the viewer, and I would look into all of the candidates. But the reason that I believe that I will be best suited for this position is, again, because of my private industry experience, my education, my background, and my love for this city. We want someone that's passionate about Evansville and that can go out there every day and really sell the city and all of the attributes that we have. So, again, my name's Natalie Rascher. The election's coming up November 7th, and I'd appreciate your vote.
From two guys who love the city and believe anybody that steps up and wants to be part of it is a hero.
Well, thank you.
Good luck.
I appreciate
Good
it.
luck.
Thank you very much.
You bet. When we come back, one last shot at Patrick, and we'll preview our next show on the 2023 municipal election. All right. 3 very fine and credible candidates.
You know, Judge, here's what just makes my heart proud. We had 3 candidates. They all want the job. They were all well-spoken. But when you talk about this community and its education and its prospects, you heard from a Central grad, you heard from a Bossy grad, you heard from a North grad, and you got 2 Harrison grads sitting here. And by the way, Wrights is undefeated in football. Things are pretty good in this city, and I think they're all capable of doing a good job.
Well, and I think they all conveyed a positive, can-do, I love this city, I want to make it even better. That's a wonderful message.
And they didn't duck anything. We asked them what the challenges were. We asked them what their plans were. They're all well-spoken. I think the city will be in good hands. You and I don't butter anybody or cut anything here. Michael Daugherty's got an uphill climb. A third party traditionally in this state, local, or national has a big mountain to climb.
But he spent some money. He's got some traction.
He's up on TV?
He's got signs everywhere.
Yeah.
Will he prevail? I'm not sure, but certainly he'll affect the outcome.
Party politics in our day, when we were growing up in it, was precinct and ward driven. It's not that way anymore, which is to the benefit of a third party, I think. The party organization is not the driving force it used to be.
I would agree, and in fact, the last 12 years of Lloyd Winnicky have shown it is a bipartisan pursuit. You got people on both sides of the aisle that have contributed under the Winnicky administration to make this city better.
There ought to be a big turnout. You have a choice.
Right.
We have given you all 3 and their resumes. If you don't show up for 4 years, keep your damn mouth shut about anything that goes on in the city.
And I promise next time Pat won't curse. When we do our next show, which will be in the next week or so, we will have the city council candidates.
Thanks for watching.